craft beer friends, and welcome to Season 8, Episode 17 of Tap to Craft Podcast. I am Denny Luce, coming to you from Boise, Idaho, and my partner in craft, the dog whisperer, and my favorite Florida man, also known as Drinking Eagle from Tampa, Florida, Mr. Chris McKenzie. How you doing tonight, Chris? And of course, what is in your glass?
Well, Denny, tonight I'm doing really good. I'm a little sleepy today, though. I really haven't done a whole lot, so I'm not entirely sure why. I went grocery shopping. That was the extent
That'll
of
do it. That'll do it.
Yeah, it was probably when I realized how expensive it was. And then, oh yeah, I filled up my gas tank today, and I know that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But today I'm drinking a beer from Corporate Ladder.
Oh, nice.
It's called Vanilla Bean You to the Punch. So this is a fruit punch inspired sour ale with vanilla bean in it.
Okay.
And it's actually, Sarah might be able to get into this too, because he's been producing a lot of his sours that are gluten-free.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
A lot of his, especially his sour beers that I've been seeing, a lot of them been gluten-free.
Okay.
So, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, it's not necessarily something I need to go reach for, but hey, for those folks that have a gluten intolerance, it could make beer drinking a lot better.
That's right. That's right.
Good.
Inclusive, all inclusive.
Yep. So that's what I'm drinking this evening. And what about you, sir? What's in your glass and how are you doing this evening?
All right. When we talk about my glass, I mentioned this beer. I don't know if it was last episode or I think it was last episode that Sarah Witten grabbed this for me. It's Roadhouse Brewing, the Walrus Hazy IPA.
Walrus.
Yeah, and it's just, they have just some, classic, not too complicated artwork on there and labels. I just kind of appreciate it. It's easy going, but they're out
simple.
It's simple. They're out of Wyoming, one of those Wyoming breweries. So when we get to W's, it might be my W brewery.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm doing okay. I am also tired. And I'm just going to say this because, I am still recovering from COVID from 2 months ago. And I'll tell you why I'm tired is because it has messed up my sleep. I can't sleep longer than 2 hours without waking up and then trying to fall back asleep. And it's really putting fatigue on me. I don't know. I don't know if you can, my bags probably aren't too big today, but I just don't have any energy. I get up and work out. And normally I work out 3 to 5 days a week, and I'm lucky if I can get 3 workouts in a week because I get up and I don't have any energy. I can't do anything. And then when I go and do the workout, I'm used to like performing at a certain thing, and I can't get my energy up to really push it. And then I found out that I started looking at my heart rate, and after COVID, my heart rate spikes at 15 to 20 beats higher when it does spike than it was before. So COVID definitely affected me a bit. I think everything included, it's wearing on a little bit. So I might be one of those poor folks that has this long haul effects of this little virus that we've been trying to fight for so long. But I'm still here. But the show is probably, I'm going to try to make the show short because I haven't had dinner yet. I'm probably going to drink. I already had 1 beer, and I'm probably going to drink 3 tonight, and maybe I just won't eat dinner.
I don't know. It could make for a fun show.
It could make for a fun show. It could make for a fun show, but but maybe it'll help me sleep too. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm enjoying this beer. It's a hazy IPA, the Walrus. So grab that. But yeah, we do have a show for you. But I'm going to try to keep it short. I haven't seen what you wrote into our topic, or if you're, I don't know. We don't have a lot to do. There's not a lot of feedback.
Did the cliff notes. I did the cliff notes.
Okay. So yeah, we're going to keep it kind of short, but hey, we're still putting out a show, even though that I'm really drained and I didn't put a lot of effort into. I put a little bit of effort into it, but not as much as we normally would. So just so you understand, that's why I'm not fully committed this week. But we do have a show for you. So Chris, let's get this show started. But before we get too far in, we always want to let anyone new listening to the show know what Tap to Craft podcast is all about. We are an educational podcast focused around celebrating all things craft beer because we want to assist you, our listener, along in your craft beer journey and adventures. And you're listening to episode 199. Yes, we're one away from 200.
Getting so
And we're
close.
it's so close. And we're recording on Monday, March 7th, 2022. And yes, we are live on Facebook and also on Twitter. And if you'd like to join us during our recording session, you can do that easily on the Monday before the show releases. We release every 2 weeks on a Thursday. The Monday before that Thursday, we're live at 8:30 Eastern on Twitter now and on Facebook. So join us and enter into the conversation and check us out. We'd like to hear your comments and add you to our show. In this episode, we're going to be talking about our favorite breweries that are beginning with the letter E. Yes, we've made it to the letter E, and we'll be talking about a couple of those breweries. And we wanted to do a tasting notes segment. So Chris and I were trying to coordinate on beers that we can both get in the same area without us having to send beers back and forth, which is doable, but it's a little bit harder. And we found that we could both get this New Belgium Brewing's Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA. So we'll be tasting that on the show. We haven't really tasted a lot of hazy IPAs. I think might be our first one, or maybe second. Oh, we did. I guess I did some on for the Sierra Nevada.
I was going to say,
little thing.
Well, yeah, that one. But admittedly, I'm probably going to have to run out and grab a cup or a glass for it too, because I walked in here and was like, okay, I'm totally ready to go. Like I said, I knew I was forgetting something.
Yeah.
So, oh well.
Yeah, that's okay. But yeah, we'll be doing that. So if you are listening and you do have a Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA, go grab it and be prepared for our tasting note segment. And of course, you can count on Chris and I having some great conversation along the way. And we do have a listener on Twitter, Eric Gronley, decided he wanted to listen to us on Twitter tonight. That's awesome. He's normally on Facebook, but now he has two options. So hopefully that works out well for him. And let's get this conversation started. But before we do that, I always want to recognize some supporters, some listeners who want to support us on Patreon. We don't make anyone do it. We offer it out there in case people want to do it. And guess what? People just want to support us, which I really appreciate. And this episode is brought to you in part by our satisfied Patreon supporters like Mike Allen, Bill Slimmer, Amanda and Kevin Argauer, and Mark Reedy, who are our virtual producers, and Tom Byrne, Jeff Seiler, Johan Halberg, Tara Carlson, Chad Lamassa, Mark Church, Matt Knight, and Eric Gronley, who want to buy us a virtual beer. And if you enjoy the content we provide, we invite you to support the show by toasting your hosts or buying us a virtual beer, or even becoming a virtual producer. You can explore the options on our support page by visiting patreon.com/tapthecraft. All right, there's not much feedback, except we do have a voicemail. Now, before we get into the voicemail, I want to just set a reminder that in the last episode, we mentioned that if you want to enter in to win our first Frost Buddy, this is a Frost Buddy, Frost Buddy, you can do that by sending us a voicemail. You got to do this before March 21st. So you had 2 weeks prior. Now you've got a week and a half to get us a voicemail wishing us a happy episode 200 and let us know, what you like or something about the podcast that you want us to know about, that you enjoy, and why you keep listening. We really appreciate that. And if you do that, you'll be one of the lucky entries into the contest. We're going to save all those for episode 200, which is the next episode. Okay. So now we have a voicemail, and this is a very nice voicemail from somebody we had on the show, and it opened their own brewery in Oklahoma City. So this is from Buck Buchanan. I'm already being affected by this. Buck Buchanan from Core 4 Brewing. So Chris, why don't you go ahead and hit that play button?
All right.
Hey guys, it's Buck, Core 4, Oklahoma City. Just wanted to send you guys a shout out. See how you have been. It's been a while since I talked to you. Just let you know that March 12th we'll be celebrating our 2-year anniversary at Core 4. Can you believe it's already been 2 years? It's been 2 years since I was a guest on the show. I can't believe it. If you guys remember, we were open for 3 days, and then the world ended. We immediately shut down for 2 months. So kind of rough go at the beginning, but here we are, 2 years later. Everything is doing great. We're doing a big outdoor event with live music and local art, beer releases for our 2-year anniversary party. So it's going to be awesome. I just want to say thank you guys for supporting us and all the kind words over the last couple of years, and thank you guys for everything that you do. We definitely appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Well, thank you, Buck, and congratulations on year 2
Most
anniversary.
definitely.
Yeah, and hey, I have nothing but kind words for Core 4. You guys sent us. I mean, Chris had visited the brewery when he was in Oklahoma City, and you guys sent us beer, and we did review it on air. And of the 4 beers you sent, for me personally, 2 of them I rated 5 cap rating, and that's not those are real ratings. I really, really enjoyed the beers that you sent. They were really high quality and just like, to me, perfect examples of those styles that I would drink all the time if I had them. So yeah, there's no surprise that you're still going strong even through COVID, because you guys are brewing some good beer and you're good people. And I pay attention to all your social media stuff and all the activities, interactions you guys do at the brewery. Heck, if I was in Oklahoma City, I would be there all the time, hanging out and doing all that fun stuff. So enjoy that parking lot, that outdoor festival, and let us know how it goes. And hopefully my buddy Larry has visited Core 4, and maybe he'll show up to the 2-year anniversary bash. That'd be great.
Yeah, I wish, honestly, though, I wish I would have been able to make it to the brewery. I actually went to Buck's house.
Oh, you went to his house.
Yeah,
Oh, man, that's service right there.
Yeah, I pulled up to the house and he came out and greeted me, and we hung out for a little while. And he was gracious enough to give me a handful of beers and some of their own and some of the ones from the local area too. So, Buck, congratulations to you and your crew. I know it's been a heck of a ride, especially because of COVID. And as soon as you guys opened the doors, like you said, the world ended. So congratulations, guys. We're really excited for you.
Yeah. And you know what, Buck? After you guys get done celebrating your 2-year anniversary and things settle down, I think Chris and I would love to have you back on the show and for you to talk about, how you had to transition and how you survived the first 2 years of hell of opening a brewery.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your story, and you were a fantastic interviewer. So I can't wait to chat with you again.
Well, even if we could get the other 3 of you guys, the other parts of the core, on there with you guys.
All 4 core.
Get the whole core of the 4 on there too.
Yeah, of course. We can have a big party. That'd be good.
Because Zoom makes that easier to do now. So
true. Okay. Well, if you want to contact Chris and I, you can do that easily through email at taptocraft@gmail.com or on Twitter and Instagram. Just follow us and add us at taptocraft. And of course, on Facebook at facebook.com/taptocraft, where we're live. And Chris is constantly posting articles and things on our Facebook page. And we do have a website. So if you want to find, how to listen to the show or find out more about the show, you can go visit us at taptocraft.com. And I did start a Linktree account because Linktree is actually kind of a really neat application. It allows you to put all your links in one page that you can just link to at linktr.ee/taptocraft. And now you can go find all the links to everything Tap to Craft in one spot. And I have not all. Let me know who I don't have on the list of podcast apps, but I have most of the podcast apps that would take you directly to our page. You can subscribe or listen. Linktree is pretty cool too. Go find us there. Okay, Chris. Well, let's continue the conversation because now it's time to untap the craft and see what our listeners are drinking according to Untapped.
So it doesn't seem to be as heavy of a list this week because I think last week we had some sort of holiday, or last episode we had a holiday or something.
Yeah, President's Day.
Day. Yeah, that's what it was. Observed. Yeah. Observed. First check-in today is going to be from Johan Hallberg. He's drinking a Lana, which is my niece's name, by Vilda at Untapped at Home. He gave it a 4-cap rating. No notes on this one, but a 4-cap rating for this beer. Let's see. David Martin is drinking a Libertas Tropical Golden Ale by Costa Rica's Craft Brewing Company. 4-cap rating on that beer. No notes to go along with it. I'd be curious, David, are you in Costa Rica? Because that'd be pretty cool. Next on the list is going to be Kevin Page. He's drinking a little bit of everything. It looks like he's actually at a brewery called Gatlin Hall Brewing. Checked into, let's see, Earth Warden, which he gave a 4-cap rating to. Moonbound, which was also a 4-cap rating. He said, in celebration to Mr. Noodle, who worships all things lactose. He also checked into Brady's Psychedelic Breakfast, smooth maple coffee and chocolate with almost zero bitterness. Probably the first breakfast stout that lived up to its moniker. 4.5 caps for that one. Midnight Blossom, also from Gatlin Hall Brewing. Very, very nice. Orange meshes well for a change. 4.25 caps for that one. Next on the list from Mike Allen, he's drinking a Blind Pirate by Monday Night Brewing. Decent IPA, but the blood orange is almost unnoticeable. Maybe after it warms a little bit. 3.75 caps for that one. Actually checked into a Goose Island beer, Hazy Beer Hug, that he gave a 4-cap rating to. Johan, I'm not even going to read the brewery from this one, but it's called Roxon India Red Ale, and a brewery name that I can't pronounce. But he gave it a 3.75 cap rating for that beer. It looks like a very delicious IRA, India Red Ale.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next on the list, scrolling up, Mike Allen again, the Orange Double IPA by Wild Leap Brew Co. Nice orange notes on this one, 4.25 caps. Got to continue that check-in streak for the 20,000th show in a row. Chad Lamassa is drinking a Whirlwind Cannon by Pipe the Side Brewing Company. He said, I don't know a ton about alt beers, but this is delicious. There are some cherry and orange notes. It's light and very sessionable at 5.5%. He gave it a 4.5 cap rating, and alt beers are right up my alley too.
I love alt beers. It's a style that is becoming more popular lately than it was, but before it was popular, every time I saw an alt beer on the menu, I would grab it because I really do enjoy a good alt beer.
Me too. And it's definitely, like you said, it's one that doesn't have a ton of popularity, but I think it's definitely growing. So if you guys find any alt beers out there, go try them. Let's see. Next on the list, Jeff Seiler is drinking a Technomancer by Modern Times.
Technomancer, nice.
Really tasty, hazy double IPA. Big tropical notes with a dank finish. Sorry to hear they're having problems. Hope they can right the ship. 4-cap rating for that beer.
What was the brewery again?
Modern Times.
Oh yeah, Modern Times.
Yeah, I was gonna say we just read about that last
episode. I heard the Technomancer. I'm like, oh, I like the name, and then I realized the brewery was Modern Times. Yeah.
All right, so Denny, I got one for you. The Citrus Rescue by New Belgium Brewing Company.
Yeah. So, I went to so it's kind of, let me tell this funny story. Is that I prematurely went and got a beer that I thought that Chris would be able to find in Tampa. And it turns out that he couldn't find it in Tampa. So then Chris found this beer we're drinking tonight. So I said, you know what? That beer I know I can get in Boise. So I went ahead and grabbed it. But when I went to go grab this beer today, I saw there was a new beer from New Belgium that I had heard someone mention before. And the Citrus Rescue is a beer that's like a very light, hazy IPA.
Yeah.
But they're also putting in oranges from this, and now I can't remember. Oh, you know what? I got a can right here.
So
Rescue. It's from the Imperfect Foods. So Imperfect Foods is taking. Put that back. Is taking fruits and vegetables and foods that are blemished, and they are using these. They're trying to promote them to be used and not just thrown
I
away,
like
right?
that.
Yeah. So New Belgium kind of partnered with them and took in all these oranges to add the oranges to the beer and made it a collaboration between these empiric thing. And so, actually, I didn't rate it super high. I think I gave it 3 3/4 because I'm rating it as a hazy IPA, and as a hazy IPA, it's definitely lighter in body and flavor and IPA-ness, right? I could whiff some sweet orange, uh, citrusy flavors in the nose pretty strong. I was like, "Ooh, that's pretty nice." And I took a sip, and I can taste it, but not too heavy, which I appreciate. But when I had the lighter orange flavor in the taste, I expected to get more, you know, IPA, bitterness or something that was a little heavier in there, and it was kind of lacking that heavy. Now, I'll tell you what's good about this beer, and if it was summertime, it'd be really good. Is that I literally drank the entire 12-ounce pour in 3 gulps because it goes down really easy. It's a lighter beer. The bitterness at the end is not too heavy. It really comes across with like a pithy orange
Hmm.
peel bitterness, which I liked, and so it kind of had a nice flavor. So I rated it 3.75. Not like the best, but still very drinkable, and I'll enjoy drinking the rest of the 6 pack that I bought. So there you go. There's a story about this citrus rescue.
And I really like the listing that they have on Untapped for it because it goes along with what you were talking about, Denny. Because it just says Imperfect Foods, a sustainable online grocer dedicated to building a kinder, less wasteful food system, helped us create a citrusy beer made from oranges that may not be perfect by
Hmm.
society's narrow beauty standards due to little scars and blemishes, but are just as adorable and delicious. So there's a franchise out called Maple Street Biscuits. I don't know if you guys have them any near you, but
No.
we've got a couple of them here in Florida, and I know North Carolina's got a few of them. And one of the things that they do is they actually brag on the fact that their fresh squeezed orange juice that they make, they have a machine that
Hmm.
squeezes orange juice right as you need it, and it says ugly oranges make the best juice. So it kind of goes along with what they're doing too.
I think that's right. I know that when I'm in Israel, they have one of those machines too, and I
Mm.
always get 1 glass of fresh squeezed orange juice because I don't want to have too much citrus. And the oranges that I'm looking in there, I'm like, now those don't look very good. But when I
Yeah.
drink that orange juice, I'm like, I don't care what they look like. Just put a cover over them. These are good. So
Yeah.
you're right. I think the ones that don't look so hot are actually the ones that have the best flavor.
Well, it looks like you got a 3.75 cap rating for that beer. Jeff Seiler checking into a Green Moss by Hop Butcher for the world. One of the best hazy double IPAs I've had. Big tropical notes with a mildly sweet finish. Hop Butcher makes delicious IPAs, which he gave a 4.75
Hmm.
cap rating to. Um, my buddy Jameson, or our buddy Jameson, is drinking a Zango by Rheingeist Brewery. 4.5 caps on that one. And Robert, or as you and I know him, Chew Your Beer, is drinking a Propagator Series Blanc Noise by Firestone Walker. First in my community to untap this beer, buddy. We need to get you some medals or gold stars or cookies or something. This is like the second one I've read of yours like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised no one from the Perfect Pour following hasn't untapped this beer yet until now. 3.5 cap rating for that beer. My buddy Stephen Brown here in Tampa, Florida, is drinking a Push the Boundaries, the yellow label by Horace Aged Ales. 4.5 cap rating for that one. Bill Schlemmer checking into a double dry hopped or DDH, everything eventually Vic Secret by Hacienda Beer Company. Refreshing, not very juicy, but pleasing, well-balanced hop bitterness. 4 cap rating for that beer. Let's see. Tara Carlson, she's drinking a Lost Ubiquity by First State Brewing Company. Never enough Pilsners in Southern Maryland, according to her. Looks like they're out doing some outside things. 4 cap rating for that beer. You and I were checked in on that too, or tagged on that one too, Denny. And then let's see, real quick, squeezing it in at the very last minute. Eric Gronley, 8 minutes ago, checking into a Controlled Chaos by Surly Brewing Company. Just a classic West Coast IPA. Piney, earthy, grapefruit, citrus. It just so happens to be my life motto as well. Controlled Chaos. And that's what everybody's drinking today.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm paying attention to Facebook. And so when Bill Schlimmer, he said his favorite brewery is Eagle Park here in Milwaukee. And I had a list of E's that I was going to list of honorable mentions, but I didn't want to have too many and take away from Chris's list. So I don't know if Chris included Eagle Park or not in his. We'll find out. No. You did not. But I agree. I haven't had much from Eagle Park. I think the only ones I've had is ones that were provided to me from Bill. but I did enjoy it. It was really good. And then Eric Gronley said, I've only had one Eagle Park beer. It was amazing. Can't wait to try my next one. And then Eric says that Elysian is his E. And also Elm Creek Brewing in the city of Champlin, Minnesota. Really solid variety of beer. So there's some E beers that most likely, well, one of them might be mentioned later. But yeah, so there's the people that are listening live on Facebook. Okay, Chris. Well, now that we've got our appetite all excited for more beer, are you ready to do our tasting segment?
Well, I am, but first, just you know, as a shameless plug, I'm going to take the lid off of this, take my 16-ounce can out.
Yes.
Put my little insert in there.
Yeah, I did that while you were talking. You probably heard it.
I did. I put this, that noise, I know what that is, and I love that. And then take the beer we're about to drink in a 12-ounce can and put it in there.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot to put the liner in before I put this 12, so I had to pull it back out, put the liner in, and I'm still new at this whole Frost Buddy thing, but
I know it's pretty awesome though.
But it's nice to have it. I mean, I can feel that I mean, this actually traps that cool inside the container. So I see how this works really nicely, that it doesn't allow that cool air to escape and just allows it to recycle inside.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to try it.
Have you put a 12-ounce bottle in it yet?
So I put every side. I had a tall boy, a short stubby. I put everything I had in there just to try and try it out. Except for I didn't try a 22-ounce bottle. Will 22-ounce bottle fit in this?
That won't fit.
Okay.
So this is basically, from what I understand, it's basically anything that's around that 16-ounce mark and smaller. So I know they do have a bigger kind of container that will hold a bottle of wine.
Okay, a wine.
You want to get real bigger.
Wine buddy.
But I mean, for what we use it for, I mean, bottles of water, the slender seltzer cans, 12-ounce bottles, 16-ounce cans, 12-ounce cans. I haven't really found anything that's in my beer fridge that doesn't fit in here.
Okay.
Or at least my everyday drinker stuff. Yeah, those Jeff, those are some really good breweries. He mentioned Epic, Equilibrium, Edmund's Oast. I forgot about Edmund's Oast. Elysian and El Segundo. So
El Segundo, yes. Okay, yeah. So those are good ones. We'll see which ones end up on our list. We won't spoil it.
Okay.
Totally. Okay, Chris. Now you're ready to do our tasting segment?
Yeah. We're gonna be talking about that Voodoo Ranger Juicy Hazy IPA.
Juicy Hazy IPA. All right. So.
Oh, I need a glass. Crap.
Okay, well, that's okay. I'll talk while you go get a glass. I'm pouring mine into my B cup right now. This is like dual sponsorship. I've got the beer in a Frost Buddy, and I'm pouring it into a B cup. This is total sponsorship segment here. Really appreciate that. So yeah, it goes in, and you can see that this this hazy here is a little bit hazy, and it's got a lighter coloring, more like a golden straw color. The head is pure white. Not even any, I mean, it's kind of see there. It's pure white, tight, dense foam. The head's sticking around. I bet that sucker will still be here when Chris gets, that damn camera is locking up. when he gets back. But yeah, so we're talking about the new Belgian Brewing's Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA. The Voodoo Ranger family is brewed with trend-setting hop and malt varieties and served with a side of sarcasm. Let's say Voodoo Ranger doesn't take himself too seriously, and neither should you. The bottom line, if you're looking for an innovative IPA that are hop forward, bold, and occasionally hazy, the Voodoo Ranger fam has your back. And this one is bursting with tropical aroma. We're going to give it away, but bursting with tropical aromas and juicy fruit flavors, this golden IPA is perfectly bitter with a refreshing, sublime finish. ABV 7%, IBUs 50, hops, Amarillo, Cascade, Mosaic, Chinook, HBC 522, Mosaic, Strata, and Citra. I kind of think they overdid it on the hop bill right there. That's a lot of hops that are all going to be like, I mean, depending on when they used it in the brew process. Oh, you know what? We didn't talk about our beer speak, but we will talk about that here in a second. But depending on when they used it in the brewing process will determine whether it was used for some bittering or some, flavors and some dry hopping or whatever. Malts, pale, honey, and Pilsner. So there's a lot going on here. I always kind of have I hesitate towards beers that have too many hops in it because it tends to muddle the flavor if there's too many things going on. But if all these hops play nicely together and accentuate the flavors that they're trying to get, then it could be, a really nice surprise. All right, so you got your glass, Chris?
Got my glass.
I read all this stuff, and then we're ready to drink this stuff. I already mentioned that it's like a golden straw hazy color.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah, dense, pure white head. The head is still sticking around. I poured this thing, and the head is sticking around. And it's got some stickiness on the side of the glass as well. I did a dual sponsorship where I poured it from my Frost Buddy into my B cup, right? That's a nice sponsorship right there.
I poured it out of my Frost Buddy into my Brewer Shirts cup. So.
Brewer Shirts, there we go. That's 3 sponsors in one segment. There we go.
We got everybody in there.
Yeah, we do appreciate our sponsors. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Okay, so taking a sip, or I mean a smell, sorry. You can take a sip. I do get a little sweetness. I do get a little sweetness, like some ripe tropical fruits. I mean, there's a lot of hops going on there, so
there's a lot of hops, but there's definitely, and I'm trying my very best not to read my screen here because you said some words, and I
did, yeah,
and I love when you can. I love the way people's brain works. Like you could read that whole list, and I go, wow, you know what? I do taste that because I'm getting things like honey. And I'm getting things like that, those tropical fruit notes like mango or even some peaches and stuff too.
No, I get some mango. You're right. I just took a sip, and you're right. There's mango in here. It's a sweet mango, like that's where some nice of the sweetness comes from.
Yeah, nice ripe. And ripe. You just peeled it. It's really, really ruby red on the outside, and you peel it open, and you get some of that fruit.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know if I've had this beer before.
Really?
I probably did a while ago, but I so it's funny because this is probably I checked into the beer that I wanted to do a tasting on, and I think it was Jeff Seiler. I think it was Jeff. Yes, it was Jeff. I'm gonna say it's Jeff because my memory is not that best. And he said, "Hey, I'm kind of confused on on all these. The Voodoo Ranger series is kind of a confusing thing. They don't know what It's like you don't know what to expect because there's all these different Voodoo Ranger beers. It's like their experimental line, right? Yeah. So they just do whatever they can, but they do have some that stick around. And this one's been around for quite a while.
Yes, it has, because I'm scrolling through all of my friends that have checked into it, and it starts with Jeff Seiler. Goes up to David Makazuki, Kevin Argour, Mark Church, Kyle Lilly, Jay Collins, Ryan Whedon, David Martin, Buck Buchanan, Will Sinclair, Jim Kudzall. You, however, sir, are not on there.
So I'm having a beer for the first time on air. I don't. Yeah, I didn't think I may not have had this one because I kind of gave up on the Voodoo Ranger thing. So for me, when the Voodoo Ranger series first started, I thought, oh wow, they had the Voodoo Ranger and they had the Imperial Voodoo Ranger, and the
Yep.
Imperial Voodoo Ranger was the one I'm like, this is great. I just
Mm-hmm.
love that beer. And then I saw them releasing a few others, and I had a couple of the other ones. I'm like, yeah, this isn't very good. What are they doing? And so I kind of got turned off by that series of beers, so I stopped buying them. And I think I stopped when this one came out. That's why I hadn't checked into it yet. And I just recently started buying some more because I saw the one that I bought was called Juice Force.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double IPA at like 9.5%. And it tastes like you're drinking, like you've been blasted up into space by a bucket full of ripe oranges. Super sweet, citrusy orange, like orange soda orangeness, but
Wow.
you still taste the IPA in it. It's not just a soda. You actually can still feel it's still a beer, and it's got 9.5%
Wow.
ABV. It'll mess you up pretty fast. And I drank two of those when I first got it. I'm like, yeah, we're doing this beer on the show. This is a good beer. And then Chris can't find a beer, but you know what? Maybe we'll do it next episode because it's just been released like recently, so it should be in your area soon.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, it was funny because when I was going through all those check-ins that I just read, we've got, we were talking about Jim. Jim Kudzall checked into it like November of last year.
Okay.
Jeff Seiler, which was the first check-in of all my friends, was July of 2019.
Oh wow.
Which I was like,
Wow,
wow,
2 years ago.
that's
3 years ago.
3 years
Yeah,
ago.
almost
I
3
checked
years.
into it February 6th, 2018.
So it's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's been around for a little while now. So
okay.
But me personally, when it comes to this one, let's see, what did I rate it before? A four cap rating. It was so good. Denny, I actually wrote notes. Big citrus punch. Like this a lot. Bitterness isn't too harsh. So
there's no bitterness at all in this
not
thing,
at
actually.
all.
Yeah, there's no bitterness.
It's more sweet than anything, and it's definitely hazy. I mean, you can see some light through it, but you can't see anything on the other side. But I really, really do like this one.
So, you know how every year I say I'm not gonna drink as many IPAs. I'm gonna drink more malty stuff, more beer.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. 2022 is the year of the IPA for me because I was drinking a lot of malty stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got to a point where I'm like, gee, I'm tired of these lagers, these malty beers, and so I started drinking IPAs, and I've drank like that powder IPA from Powder, the Sierra Nevada one I liked, Powder Day.
Yeah.
Man, I must have drank at least 3 cases of that beer this year alone. I can't get enough of that beer. I don't know what it is about. It's not like it's the best hazy IPA I ever had, but it satisfies a need where I just want a beer. I just drink it, and it satisfies me, right? It's not too much of anything. It just is a good balance of a beer that tastes like a beer, but also has IPA, but it's not too strong where I don't get acid gut. And I can just drink a few of them and I just feel good. And I've been drinking a lot of that beer. And it just carries on to these Voodoo Rangers. It carries on to, I've been drinking a bunch of IPAs all year long. So I need to kind of, balance out and drink some more maltier stuff as the year goes on because I turn back to an IPA.
Yeah.
Head.
Well, I mean, it definitely happens because it was like so one of the big beers around here, Cigar City's High Life, right? It's a big one around here. You go to sports stadiums that you can get High Life. You go pretty much anywhere you can get High Life, and I always enjoyed the beer. And then I was drinking it, and it got to the point where you'd get kind of acidic in your gut, and it was just like, wow, that's just kind of a little too much. And then they actually put out a beer called High Low.
Okay, what's that one? Tell me about it.
So I'll give you an example. High Lie, if I remember correctly, sits right at about 7%, just like this beer does.
Oh, okay.
So they made a more sessionable version, 4.5%, and it's not this big, just hot punch in the face like High Lie is. It's a lot more subtle. It's toned down. It's easier to drink, and you can have a couple, 3 or 4 of them, and not just have like your palate scraped off of your tongue. I mean, it's kind of nice. And actually, I enjoy that one a lot more than I enjoy High Lie because, like you said, you get into these phases where you're like, okay, I want the beer flavored beers, the malty beers, and then you go into the sours, and you're in stouts for a while, or you go back to the IPAs. The High Low is a good one where you can kind of fall right in the middle, and it's not something that's going to, be too over the top and too in your face.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. So, okay, let's get back to this beer because we kind of got sidetracked.
Yeah,
I'm you've mentioned a couple of things, right? They say the IBUs are 50, which surprised me because I don't feel this is a 50. I feel this is a 30 IBU beer in my perception of the IBUs. Now, again, IBUs are not perceptive. It's what they really believe the bitterness is to counteract the sweetness that was in it to begin with. 7% is a big beer. And this beer doesn't taste like 7%,
No.
and it can mess you up quick.
No.
I'm really there's nothing wrong with the beer except for, in my opinion, it's kind of a lighter. It's a lighter beer that when you just want to drink something and not worry about it, it's an easy beer to drink. It's very drinkable, which could also be a good thing and a bad thing because 7% is a pretty strong beer. It's kind of like that citrus one I talked about, 9.5, right? I could drink 2 of those, and after 2 of them, I'm feeling pretty good because it's a high alcohol beer. So
Jeff Seiler said, Powder Day is your comfort food beer,
it's my
Denny.
comfort. You're right.
It's
just comfort food.
It's just a good, comfortable beer, like an old friend.
It is so good that, I mean, it's so good, but it's not like outstanding, right? It's just a, 3 and 3.75, 3.75 to 4 range beer. It's not like over that 4 point, but it's still just a really good, easy drinking beer. I haven't changed my rating. I think I rated it a 3.75, maybe a 4. I can't remember, but I haven't changed my rating because I still think it's just that it's good, but it's not great. But it's just one of those go-to beers, comfort food beers.
Yeah.
You're right, Jeff. Thank you.
And I think too, like you said, hey, this is at a 50 IBUs. And you're like, wow, it doesn't really taste that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
That high. I mean, I can kind of get it. I mean, I do, because as this is warming up, because I still got a half a glass here. Yours looks like it's gone, isn't it?
So, I'm drinking my dinner. Remember, this is my dinner.
That's right.
Get my nutrition in.
I need my sustenance.
Yeah.
But as I'm drinking it and it's starting to warm up a little bit, it's definitely starting to be you can definitely get that bitterness kind of on the very back of your tongue at the very end after you swallow it and it's gone.
Yeah, maybe a little, but not strong. It's not like a West Coast IPA, right?
No.
It's very, if it is there, it's more in the astringency that gets you that bitterness. Maybe I don't know. I get a little puckerness as it warms up. That kind of like the beer is like shrinking my skin in the back of my throat.
Yeah.
Astringency, whatever. Yeah. That's how I describe it, right? Just kind of.
I would agree with that.
But I still don't feel it's 50 IBUs. I mean, it's easily drinkable. I'm going to give this a 3.75. And the reason why is because it doesn't have any bold flavors that I appreciate in a hazy IPA. It doesn't have the softness that I also appreciate. But it is easily drinkable, and it's going to waste you if you drink a 6-pack. You're going to be wasted after it.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't imagine putting a 6-pack down.
Yeah.
And it's always I always liked how when we used to talk about well, hell, when we were talking on the fermented reality beer cast, where I'll drink a beer or two and I already have a buzz going on, like it's nice. I'm a cheap date. But it's, being 6'5", 230, and you drink one or two of these, and I'm just like, okay, I'm good. Everybody's just fine. Sometimes it just doesn't matter. And I do like that, but it's just easy to drink. Because in the 5-10 minute conversation you and I have had, you and I have both finished a beer. So
yeah. This is a beer. Again, I got a 6-pack of this, and this is the first one I've had. It's a beer that is kind of like Powder Day, right? It's in the same realm of Powder Day. I appreciate for what it is. It's one I can go and drink and just not worry about being over excited about anything, right? It's not gonna knock me. It's not gonna be too sweet. Not gonna be too bitter. It's not gonna be too hoppy or astringent or sour or anything. There's no extreme to it, right? It's just an easy drinking beer that now I know why it stuck around for 4 years is because it is I think it's a crowd pleaser,
You even got a little higher on your Powder Day check-in. You got a 4 1/4.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There is. You know what? 4 1/4 Powder Day. Well, honestly, to be honest with you, Powder Day has the edge over. Okay, I gotta take it out of the frost. I gotta show the can over this beer.
Yeah.
The Powder Day does have that half cap edge because it does have a little bit more flavor. It wakes you up like, oh, I got some of that citrus bite to it. This is just mellow, right? It's just there's a sweetness to it. It's more sweet than the Powder Day. The bitterness is not there, in my opinion, where I do have a little bit of bitterness in the Powder Day. I don't know. Yeah, that's about right. I think I'm glad I gave Powder Day a 4 1/4 because like I said, I've been drinking that beer a lot, and I really appreciate it.
For a 4 1/4 cap beer, it sounds. I mean, you should be drinking a lot of it. If that's,
I should be rating it higher because of how much I've drank it, but being stubborn.
I don't even look at it that way. I mean, that's a wonderful, terrific rating to give for a beer, especially one that you're just constantly drinking. You're getting it, by the case if you're able to.
I'm getting it. So it's cheaper to buy it by a 6-pack because I'm getting it for $8.99 a 6-pack, and they want to charge $18 for a 12-pack. So I'm buying it by the 6-pack because it's a couple dollars cheaper.
Yeah, well, and that's good too. And well, think about it. That no wonder your rating's a half a cap higher. This was $10.99 for the 6-pack here.
It was on sale. Normally it's $10.99. It was on sale this week here locally for $9.99. So I saved a buck.
But still, right? So your Powder Day's cheaper, and then hell, you even told me, you're like, yeah, when I go into breweries and their beer's expensive, I knock a half cap off of it.
I do when it's over the top.
I agree.
It's a topic I want to talk about in the near future. Is when is it okay for you to pay extra for beers that you buy at the brewery? Because I've got some insight from some podcasts I listen to on some breweries that are really doing their part to make the brewing process and make an impact on the environment, that it actually costs more to do that. And our patrons more, are they going to pay the higher price knowing that they're making it, that the brewery they're buying it from is making an effort to make it better? I think so. I think there is there is a reason to pay more, whether or not that brewery is paying more to their employees, providing them health insurance, providing a family friendly environment for people to come. Are you willing to pay more for that? I think that is a good, valid reason, right? And I want to do an episode that talks about that in the future. I just didn't have like I already mentioned in the beginning of the show, I didn't have the energy to put that together this week.
Yeah.
But it will be coming. I will be doing that.
Even with like corporate ladder stuff, right? I mean, he demands a premium. And me personally, I am happy to pay it for a couple of reasons. One, the beer is phenomenal.
Yeah, the
Two,
beer's good. Yeah.
I know where the money goes. Right. I know who the money goes to. I know that it comes to, it goes to a good friend of mine. It goes to helping, support his staff. It goes to, I mean, they're going to be building out something in Raleigh, North Carolina here in the next few years, right? So like they're expanding, they're growing. I am happy to pay that extra couple of bucks for a 4-pack or a 6-pack when I know it's going to something good, something that's going to help, something that's going to grow, something that's going to support other stuff.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's the thing is, and that's the part that I'm willing to pay the extra price, knowing that it's going there, but I'm not willing to pay the extra price if there's nothing, if it's just going to, someone's pocket, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I need to make sure that everyone else is being rewarded for it as well. So.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Chris? I think we pretty much, how do you rate this beer? I gave my rating.
So I gave this one a 4-cap rating. Just because it's a lot. It's very easy for me to drink. And kind of like you don't necessarily lean more towards sweeter things. I tend to lean towards more sweeter things.
Okay.
And this is just sweet enough that it's not over the top. It's not coating your mouth. It's not.
Yeah.
It makes it enjoyable to drink. And like I said, it could be something where I could take a cooler of these to the beach or out on the boat or hang out by the pool and just sound like a B Cups commercial. And just relax, have a couple of beers and be able to have, a one after another and it not be something over the top.
Yeah.
I might be drunk, but
I think it's definitely in the realm of gateway beers for people that don't like IPAs. I think this could get people to at least look at IPAs, right? It's easy to drink. It's not a typical IPA. So
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that one because that one works out pretty well.
Okay. All right. There's our tasting notes.
Excuse me.
For New Belgium's Voodoo Ranger, what do I call it? Juicy Haze IPA.
Juicy Haze IPA.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? We just talked about an IPA, a hazy IPA, and there's a lot of hops in that thing. So I probably should have done the Beer Speak 101 segment before this, but I wanted to get drinking. So we went ahead to, after. But so the beer terminology we're going to talk about in this episode, Beer Speak 101, is going to be about fresh hopping versus dry hopping. Now, any long-time listeners, we've already talked about these types of hopping, but I want to give a little brief synopsis of what each of these are, because these are terms that are used quite commonly when we talk about beers on the show. So, fresh hopping is the addition of freshly harvested hops that have not yet been dried to different stages and are used in the brewing process. Fresh hop adds unique flavors and aromas to the beer and are not normally found when using hops that have been dried or processed per usual. This is also synonymous with wet hopping. So again, most hops, and there's a video on our YouTube page where years ago, I went and visited a local Idaho hop processing plant where I walked through the process of getting the hops off the vine, transporting them to the processing plant, stripping them from there, getting them out, drying them, and then bundling them into a big giant pouch or bag or bundle, I guess they call them. What do they call them? Bale. I guess a bale of hops. These are 200-pound bales of hops. And then they go off to a warehouse and they go shipping out to customers. So typically, these are dried somewhat, right? Remove the moisture so they preserve for longer. Wet hopping or fresh hopping, they don't dry them. They pull them off the vine, they take them, and they put them in the beer right away. They can put them in the beer in the bittering process or in the brewing process where it adds bittering. They can also put them in where it adds the next step of dry hopping, where the flavors of those hops come out in the beer, and those flavors are different when they're wet than they are dry. So dry hopping is the addition of hops late in the brewing process to increase the hop aroma of a finished beer without significantly affecting the bitterness. When hops are added into the brewing boil, they're at most of the time they're added to provide bitterness because the longer they're in there, the more bitterness comes out. Late addition hops into the boil will add more flavor and less bittering. And then when you remove them all from the boil and put them in the fermentation process, that just adds flavor from those hops. So dry hops may be added to the wort in the kettle, the whirlpool, the hop back, or added to beer during primary or secondary fermentation, or even later in the process. Later in the process is when they add hops to a container and they run the beer, the finished beer, through that container and then serve it out into the public. That even gives a different flavor. That's called a randle or some kind of a, hop.
That is what it's called.
Yeah, or randling it. So there's a lot of ways of adding hop flavor to beers. And so dry hopping is those type of manners where it's going to add more of the aroma and flavor of what the hop has to give to that beer. So there you go. There's our Beer Speak 101 for episode 199. All right, Chris, you ready for the brew buzz?
Let's talk about the brew buzz.
Okay, well, the brew buzz is devoted to discussing various beer-related topics. And this week, we discuss our favorite breweries beginning with the letter E. E is an echo. So, Chris, what do you want? You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I tell you what, you've been talking a lot. Let's go ahead and give you a chance to.
Okay, let me pour another beer so I can
moisten up your vocal cords.
Okay.
But there were a couple of them, right? And even our listeners have brought up some of them that I didn't even think about. And I was trying to make my list kind of short and sweet, but I mean, like Jeff Seiler said, Edmund's Oast, Equilibrium. I thought about putting that one on there, but I didn't really have a ton of beer from those guys. But there were a handful. I was very surprised because you look at the letter E and go, well, how many breweries could really start with the letter E? Well, my first one on my list is going to be, well, the next beer I'm drinking too. Ellipsis Brewing. Right?
Oh.
So I've got this trend going on today. The beer that I drank from Corporate Ladder was a fruit punch inspired sour.
Okay.
This is also a fruit punch inspired sour. So it's just kind of a fruity evening for me over here. But this is going to be, it's called the Fruit Punch Project from Ellipsis. And Ellipsis is based out of Orlando, Florida. Now, I love when we can kind of talk a little bit about these breweries, Denny. Ellipsis has amazing beer.
Oh, okay.
Amazing beer. Go onto their website.
Nothing.
Know about us. Yeah. They have a very basic website. And that's, I looked at that and I was like, really, guys, this is all you got? And then I went, think about the beer, though. The beer is just delicious. I pulled this off of their Facebook page. So Ellipsis Brewing in Orlando, Florida. I've had 10 beers from them, which is
okay.
But it says Ellipsis Brewing is a microbrewery located near the Orlando International Airport. We specialize in handcrafted beers from IPAs to stouts.
So it's interesting that they mentioned that because I've also heard the same thing. It's the closest brewery to the airport. That's what I've heard.
Yep. And I would agree with that. It definitely is the closest one. But yeah, and we've had, I think I've had a couple of 5-cap rating beers from them.
Okay.
But beers that are a little different, a little over the top, not like Dogfish Head over the top and different, but like we've got one in the fridge called I don't know what it's called, but it's basically like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Okay.
It's and it does, you get the like the crustiness of the bread in there, you get the peanuts, you get the fruit for like the jelly, and Tina kind of hoards that one because it is just, it's delicious. Because I pulled out this one that I just opened up, and then I pulled out that peanut butter jelly one. I said, so what should I drink? Is it the fruit punch one or the peanut butter and jelly one? She goes, oh, the fruit punch one would probably be really good. I was like,
Okay.
okay, I see what you're doing.
She's bogarting that
Yeah,
peanut
yeah,
butter
and I
jelly.
don't blame her, man. It's really good. It's really good. But yeah, Ellipsis Brewing over in Orlando, Florida. So if anybody comes to visit, you guys go to Disney or anything like that, anywhere in the Orlando area, you get off your airplane in Orlando. It's probably a 10-minute ride. So
Okay.
you know where to stop first. And I had a couple on my list too, but honorable mention that I wanted to bring up was going to be Evil Twin.
Mm-hmm.
And Evil Twin, it was tough to tell 100% where they actually are located because they started out
New
as
York, right?
well, they are based out of New York City or the Bronx or Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I can't remember 100% which one it was, but they started out as a nomad brewery in 2010. And then the founder has a very unique name that I'm just not sure how to pronounce, but I'm going to say Jeppe or Hepe. In 2012, he and his family decided to make New York City their home and join the burgeoning local beer scene. And in 2016, they were approached with the opportunity to finally root their ideas and dreams, and Evil Twin Brewing New York City was born. So
Okay.
they've got a couple of tap rooms in the New York City area. So they wanted to expand on the traditions of innovation and further it with the intimacy of a local neighborhood microbrewery. So they get more control over their recipes that they say on their website, and they're able to experiment on new flavors while perfecting the classics.
Okay.
And
So they're famous for their stouts, right? Their something
yes,
Jesus stouts.
Mm,
What's the name of that beer?
working on it.
Oh, I've had a few of them.
Yeah, me too.
I've
We
had an Evil Twin. I just can't remember the name of the beers.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Well, they have like even more Jesus.
Even more Jesus. Yeah, they have
Yes,
a bunch of different ones like that, and those stouts are really good.
but they have like one of
I
my
really
other
enjoy them.
favorites was Imperial Biscotti Break or
Yeah, that was really good. The
their
biscotti
Molotov
one,
cocktail.
Molotov cocktail, very
Um,
strong though. It's very alcoholic or
yeah,
boozy.
they're boozy. Imperial Donut Break. Um,
Donut break, yes.
I think my notes I had 19 beers from them. I think,
Okay.
but yeah, I had 19 beers from them, and it almost starts to look like they're kind of like clown shoes or hoppin'
Yeah.
frog to me because they have like stouts, but they're just slightly different. They just tweak
Yeah.
them a little bit,
Yeah, a
so
little bit
they're
different, little flavors. Yeah,
yeah.
they're yeah.
But look, all their beers I've ever had from them have just been just terrific.
No, they are good.
I
They are
really
good.
do enjoy
They're a
their
bit
beers.
expensive. They're
They
they're
are,
like they're a premium price, but they do
yeah,
make some good beers.
and you can find them. Wow, you can find them a lot of places. I mean, we get them here. I don't. Can you get
Yeah,
Evil Twin there?
yeah, we get
Well,
Evil Twin.
maybe
There's
we'll
a
shoot for
distributor.
that.
There's a yeah, we should. But let me tell you what I can get and see if you can get them because we have very limited amount that comes with a certain distributor from the East Coast.
Okay.
So it's probably the same one that brings the ones from Connecticut over, um, whatever
Okay.
like small distributor that is.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that one a little more, but
Okay.
um, yeah, they're even more Jesus is that stout that you were talking about
Yeah.
that has a couple of different variants of it as well, and like I said, they've all been really good. And I also had just a quick last minute one ex novo out of
Ex
Oregon.
Novo is good.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are good.
I've only
They're,
had one beer from them, but I've heard you talk about them so much because somebody was actually one of our listeners was reached out to us a couple of years ago and said, "Hey, I'm heading to the Oregon. I'm heading to Oregon and Washington, and what are some places where I should check out?" And you
yeah.
even brought up Ex Novo.
Yeah. That's one that I mean. There's a lot of E's that were on my honorable mention, but I didn't want to keep it too. So I just made the largest ones that I drink the most beers be the
Yeah,
ones I
yeah,
talk about.
that's only fair. It really is.
That's
So,
right.
all right, Denny, let's get into your breweries.
Okay, so anyone who has listened to this podcast for any length of time knows that what my favorite brewery is. And it's the one I visited the most times, at least in Salt Lake City, Epic Brewing.
Hmm.
Um, and I've had, according to Untapped, I've had 51 unique Epic beers.
Wow.
That's just an Untapped since I've been using it. Now I've been drinking Epic beers before Untapped started, so I might have more than that. But that's what I've logged in Untapped. And they're originally out of Salt Lake City, Utah, and they expanded into Denver, Colorado. So when they expanded into Denver, that allowed them to package and distribute their beers to bigger areas. And so I have a little thing I'll read out here if I can, because I'm probably feeling a little bit tipsy. Because again, I've been drinking my fourth beer now without eating dinner.
You got this.
So yeah, I'm probably going to slur this a little bit, but Epic Brewing Company is Utah's first brewery since Prohibition to brew exclusively high alcohol content beer. They say that we handcraft and carefully bottle their unique product in 22-ounce bottles, perfect for sharing or a long saver solo style. Yeah, long saver is correct.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the interesting thing, is that they, originally when I started drinking Epic, they only came in 22-ounce bottles because they're brewing these bigger bottles. They distribute them out. You buy them for a premium price, but the beers are fantastic, and I loved them. And even when you go to the brewery, you can't drink. There's no draft because Utah has some very special laws that specify that you can only serve beer at a certain level on draft. Anything higher than that has to be served. It has to be in a bottle, and you can't, and it's very weird. So when you go to the brewery, if you want to taste their beer, you can't have full pints either. It's you go to the brewery, you have tasters. They open a 22-ounce bottle and pour a small taster of it, and you can only have 2 tasters out at the same time. You can't have more than 2 glasses of alcohol in front of you without having it at a time, and you have to have food ordered as well. It's really weird laws. So I've gone to the brewery in Salt Lake City probably 5-6 times in a time that I've been visiting them, and I love it. I need to What I need to do is add a picture to our website that shows the tap room, the original tap room. It said max amount of people that can be in the tap room was like 7 or 10 or something like that, some small number, because it was literally a bar, and back behind the bar was a panini, a sandwich maker, and some salad stuff, and a bunch of bottles. That's it, right? So you can only fit like 7 people inside this tap room, and I don't know. I've been there so many times. I fell in love with it, and I really enjoyed it. So let me continue talking about this. But yeah, the 22-ounce bottle is a staple of Epic for me, and I only have a few right down here. We can't even see past my microphone, but let me move that out of the way to see. Right there. I only saved a few of their bottles because their bottles are, I don't know. I had to make room for other bottles that had better labels. The labeling was pretty, not that great. But again, 22-ounce bottles, that's what I have on my walls for the most part, is what they did. So
Yeah.
Epic Brewing Company creates high quality, fresh, and extremely flavorful beers in small quantities with unending varieties. Epic Brewing Company uses only the finest malts from the U.S. and Europe, intense hops, and triple filtered water. Discover natural variations of taste from the sweet malt, citrus pine, oak, smoked chocolate, coffee, vanilla to cinnamon, and most anything Epicurean you can imagine. I don't even know if I said that right. Whether you are a casual beer drinker or an adventurous connoisseur, Epic is perfect for every palate. Epic Brewing Company was founded on one core concept, a passion for strong beer. In the late 2000s, there weren't a whole lot of options when it came to high point beer in Utah. The term high point refers to alcohol content. The high point beer is so high in ABV that it is forbidden from sale in Utah grocery stores and must be sold in state-operated liquor stores. Back in 2009, the cutoff for high point beer was a whopping 4% ABV. Yeah, so you can only get this stuff when you went to the liquor store, and yeah, Yeah, so you couldn't get it out in the regular population of Utah. Since its inception, Epic Brewing Company pushed the boundaries of craft beer industry. In 2019, Utah upped the high point cutoff to 5%. Went up
Woo!
1% ABV. And by then, the brewery had already added 130 unique beers to its fleet. In 2013, Epic Brewing Company ventured into the Reno district in Denver, Colorado. In doing so, Epic Brewing expanded its reach to better serve the Rocky Mountain region, which allowed the brewery to escapade its way from coast to coast. The North, the River North District, which was the Rhino District, was made famous by its artistic diversity and maintained its status with an influx of breweries, restaurants, and coffee houses alike. Even in our hurried up and distracted era, two things are for certain. One, Epic Brewing Company won't sacrifice the quality and care that is required when making its product. And two, Epic Brewing Company won't stop pouring strong beers.
Good.
So yeah, Epic. I just it's got a soft spot in my heart. I just love the brewery. They still make beers that I drink all the time. One of those beers is Big Bad Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
Big Bad Baptist, everything. I will drink. If I had the money, I would drink all their variants, but
Yeah.
the variants are very expensive. Now they're selling 22-ounce bottles for, $20 to $25 per bottle for their variants of Big Bad Baptist. And I've told myself I'm going to pick up one variant per year, sometimes two. If my wife decides to, spoil me, I might get two per year. But yeah, the Big Bag Baptist Imperial Stout is fantastic. So that's one of my favorite beers. I have a T-shirt that I'll wear on the show every so often that is Big Bad Baptist, and yeah, it's good. So it says at Epic Brewing, we call the fall of every year Baptist season because we gear up for our annual release of Big Bad Baptist and its variants. During Baptist season, our brewery focuses our resources to the final blending and packaging of our highly anticipated annual release of Big Bad Baptist and its specialty variants. If you have an opportunity, and Epic is in a lot of states now. I didn't
Yeah.
go ahead and research and pull out the number of states, but they have probably at least 30, 35 states they can get to. So they have a wide spread. If you can get Epic Brewing Big Bad Baptist beers in your area, it's worth grabbing for sure. The other beer that I love as well is their Son of a Baptist, and it's every one of the ones they do. There hasn't been a single Son of a Baptist variant that's been released that I haven't enjoyed. Now this is different because the Son of a Baptist adds coffee, like different coffee roasters to the mix, and they utilize coffee roasters from across the United States. And they then what they do is they say, hey, I want a coffee roaster from California area. I want a coffee roaster from the Pacific Northwest. I want a coffee roaster from the Midwest. I want a coffee roaster from the East Coast. They take these different roasters, they get a blend, and they brew a beer, and then they ship that beer out to those locations so that you could have a Son of a Baptist beer with the coffee that's brewed in the area that it was founded in. So here's what Son of a Baptist is. Son of a Baptist is an 8% ABV Imperial Stout. It's not a barrel aged like its father, the Big Bad Baptist. Instead, its flavor profile was designed to highlight the complex and unique flavors of small batch coffees. Instead of sourcing the coffee that would play well in a beer, we sought out creative and innovative roasters and then asked which beans they are passionate about. Each resulting release of a Son of a Baptist is widely different depending on the coffee selected. Some of the fruity and sweet, or some are fruity with some are fruity and sweet with notes of jam and chocolate, and others are rich and earthy with a big roasted finish. Each limited release will return to the roaster's home market where the didn't get all that, where the beer is drank. I must have cut that off. But like I said, that's what's so unique is that they will release it to like multiple areas, but they will for sure go and make sure that market area gets that beer where the coffee came from. And
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And it's amazing how different each beer release is with the coffee that was chosen. It's really done well,
Mhm.
never too bitter, because coffee can add a huge bitterness to a stout. They do such a good job at making that coffee work with the stout that yeah, those are my two favorite beers that I never fail to grab. Every Son of a Baptist can that comes out, I'll grab at least one, if not two, and sometimes a 6-pack, because if I really like that beer, I'll grab a whole 6-pack of it next time I'm there. They're really good. And, wow. Okay, Chris, I just spoke a ton on Epic. Now, my honorable mention, I had a number of honorable mentions. Eagle Park was one of them, but I had a limited number of beers from Eagle Park. Ex Novo, same thing. I've had a very limited number of Ex Novo beers, but the ones I've had, I've really enjoyed. Ecliptic out of Portland, another
Mhm.
brewery I really enjoy. They are now here in Boise, but again, very limited number of beers. So I didn't want to talk about my honorable mention with breweries that make good beer, but I've only had a few of them. So I feel kind of guilty because I'm choosing a brewery that sold out years ago, but I've had 56 of their beers, and on that, on that row right there, those are all Elysian Brewing bottles, because before they got bought out by Anheuser-Busch, they were making fantastic beers with unique flavors, characteristics, and artwork on the labels. And they're, I love the beer and I love the artwork and what they did. I have a whole row of beers on my wall. So Elysian Brewing is my honorable mention. 56 beers that I've had.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So here, let me just go quickly on Elysian Brewing for anyone who doesn't know. And I thought about telling you to get Elysian Brewing. I thought, you know what? What better than to do the favorite e-breweries, and if we could both get an e-brewery, beer
Yeah.
to taste, right?
All the Elysian beers, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure have been sitting on the shelves for
For
way
a
too
while.
long.
I know
Yeah.
that's the problem. Is that yeah, they
At
don't
least in our
clear off
area.
as much. Yeah. Okay. So Elysian was founded in 1995 by Dave Bueller, Joe Biscotta, and Dick Cantwell. Cantwell had been a home brewer who gained a reputation at the DeWamp's Cafe, the Pike's Place Brewery, and Big Time Brewing. Bueller is a former spirits wholesaler, and Biscotta is a home brewer and a vice president at Seafirst Bank. Seafirst Bank doesn't exist anymore, so at least I don't think it does. It was a bank in Washington, but I think it got bought out by Chase, which was then Washington Mutual. So it got bought out by Washington Mutual that got bought out by Chase. So I think that's the whole thing. The original location was opened in 1996 in the Capitol Hill neighborhood with a 20-barrel capacity. The company operated a brew pub at the local GameWorks arcade between 1997 and 2022. In their 2003, their pub and bistro Tango Town was opened near Green Lake. The company's largest location, Elysian Fields, was opened in 2006 near the CenturyLink Field, which is often busy on game days. In 2011, Elysian expanded its operations with a 35,000 square foot production only facility in Georgetown neighborhood. Now, at the I, if you go back 8 years ago when I was going to the Great Pumpkin Beer Festival that was held in Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
it was being held at this Georgetown production facility is where they would have it. They later moved it to the Elysian Fields location, where it got a little bit too big. But I really enjoyed it when it was at the Georgetown neighborhood, because it was in the middle of nowhere, and you just went and drank and had a good time and didn't have to worry about all the crowds and stuff. Um, so in January 23rd, 2015, it was announced that Elysian would be sold to Anheuser-Busch. This deal means Elysian Brewing no longer could meet the Brewers Association's definition of a craft brewery, since full ownership by Anheuser-Busch exceeds definitions of 25% ownership by a non-craft brewery. So 2015 was a sad year for me because honestly, at that point, I really those 56 beers that I've had from Elysian were all before 2015. So that says a lot. That I don't think I've had any Elysian beer since they sold out to AB InBev, which is weird. So I drank 56 beers, unique beers from them before they sold out. I'm not saying that they don't make good beer. I think they probably still make good beer, but like Chris mentioned, because there's so many local breweries that are being that people are buying, that it may sit on might be a shelf turd, right? They might be sitting on the shelf longer than is acceptable for IPAs, and they do produce a lot of IPAs. Now during the fall, in my opinion, they do produce some of the best pumpkin beers provided. The great pumpkin ale, the Elysian Night Owl. Actually, no, I have had Elysian since they sold out because Sarah loves the Night Owl and she'll buy it. She can't drink it, and then I end up drinking 3 22-ounce bottles of it because I don't want to go to waste. Yeah. And then they have the Dark Moon Stout, which is my favorite of the Elysian pumpkin beers. It's a stout with pumpkin flavor, which is really good. So I have had some Elysian beers since then, but yeah, they are they're an honorable mention for my brewery, and I think some of our listeners have also mentioned them as well. Okay, Chris, I definitely talked way too long. We're already at an hour and a half almost. Let's end this show, but before we end it, I want you to go ahead and raise a glass to someone you'd like to raise a glass to.
So I'd like to raise a glass to our new sponsor, Frost Buddy. But I also want to raise a glass to Megan, who is currently in Chicago getting snowed on.
Oh, snowed on? What's she doing in Chicago?
So she's doing some continuing education for for training, for dog training. So
sled dog training.
Yeah, apparently, but no, she's there till Saturday. So she's out there, right down the street from Revolution Brewing. Actually.
I know she should be bringing back a lot of Revolution to you.
I asked. I have some in the fridge here now, and I said, hey, if you see any, if you end up making it over to Revolution, and you see anything with the name Death on it, because I have Vanilla Death in the fridge right now. I said, grab it. And she goes, okay, well, we'll see if we can't make it over there. But I want to raise a glass to her. So she's toughing out the Arctic tundra of Chicago right now. While we're sitting here, I'm, wearing shorts today. So it was almost, 90 today. But anyway, big cheers to her, and travel home safe. Denny, who would you like to raise a glass to this evening?
Yeah. I'll raise the glass of my last beer tonight to Patreon toast, Mark Church. Thank you, Mark, for your patronage. We really appreciate your support. He's right there next to Trek Brewing in Columbus area. And also, I mentioned a while ago of one of my submarine buddies that was supposed to meet up with me, and then things happened where he couldn't stop. And well, guess what? Mike came back through Boise. We stopped. Sarah and I had dinner with him and his dad, Ralph. We had a fantastic visit. I hadn't seen Mike since his wedding in 1998. It was like we never, we just chatted like we had never been apart.
I love that.
Those are the friendships that you gain when you're on a submarine, for sure, is that you're close-knit family. And I really enjoyed that dinner, and his father was there, and we had a great conversation and great time. So cheers to you, Mike and Ralph. And also a big cheers to Buck Buchanan and Jillian, and the other two owners of Core 4 Brewing, cheers to 2 years to you as well. And of course, being a former serviceman, I always want to raise my glass and thank all those who have served and who are currently serving in the U.S. military services, protecting our freedoms. Thank you for your service. And please return home safe for your family very soon. And Chris, why don't you go ahead and raise a glass to our sponsor?
So I'd love to raise a glass to Frost Buddy, specializing in cooling containers for your beverage of choice. Frost Buddy has the Universal Buddy 2.0 right here with an added sticker.
Right here, with minus a
beer, which is the world's first universal can cooler for 12-ounce cans, slim cans, bottles, and even 16-ounce cans. Frost Buddy also has the world's first universal wine cooler, 24-ounce stainless steel mugs, and even stainless steel dog bowls. Visit their website at frostbuddy.com.
You know, Chris, I know our promo code isn't working, but they might as well use it anyway, right?
It doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything?
At this point right now, no, it doesn't. And the promo code first, actually, you know what? I do want to raise an extra glass too, real quick. And the reason I say this is because, you know, just with the insanity of trying to get in touch and communicate with guys who are just running an extremely busy business, we sent out this promo code that Denny was talking about right after we started talking to them. And a lot of you guys reached out and actually purchased Frost Buddies. And it actually kicked back some goodies for us. And we really appreciate that. It helps support the show. And guys, first off, thank you so much for doing that. It was kind of a very coincidental thing that it worked out that it was Christmas and a promo code went out, and it was part of an affiliate program that actually benefited the show, and I can't thank you guys enough for it. Now, they've recently changed that up a little bit, and they're in the works of kind of improving it, making it better, and adjusting it a little bit. So while we do have a promo code in there, it's not going to do anything. So it's just, it'll pop up in there and it'll say, you know, hey, thanks. So definitely go out and check them out. When we do get a new promo code, we will very, very quickly share it with you guys, because, man, we appreciate the support so much that you guys jumped on so fast to start supporting one of our sponsors. So cheers to everybody that picked them up, even for those of you that even considered it. Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Well, you can find the beers and the links to the articles, which there's no article, but mention the show in the show notes located on the show post at tapthecraft.com. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped at Loose Screw. And Chris, how can our listeners follow you?
So you can only find me on Twitter if I'm trying to get information from a company, or my Untapped check-ins always go through automatically on Twitter, Chris_McKenzie82. Or you can always find me on Untapped and Instagram at MCK1345. And of course, I would love to interact with you on everything social at Tap the Craft.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. All right. Well, it is last call. It's time to bring the show to a close. We want to thank you for downloading and listening, and we ask you to please tell a friend about our show. And of course, subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And as a reminder, we release a new show every 2 weeks. Now go out there and spread the good word of craft beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.